Once in the epoch of scientific profundity, in the middle of the land of Philisterium, a building was created on a hill, in spiritual seclusion, which the inhabitants of the land of Philisterium found most peculiar. To use Goethe's language, one could say that the building was an open secret, for it was closed to no one, and at convenient times everyone could go there and see it. But the vast majority of people saw nothing at all. The vast majority saw neither what had been built nor what it revealed. The vast majority stood, in Goethe's words again, before a completely open mystery. At the central point of the building there was to stand a statue. It presented a group of beings, the representative of a human being, then a luciferic and an Ahrimanic figure. People gazed at the statue, and in that age of scientific profundity in the land of Philisterium, they did not know that it was but the veil for an invisible statue. But people did not notice the invisible statue, for this invisible statue was the new Isis, the Isis of a new epoch. A few people in the land of scientific profundity had heard of this remarkable link between what could be seen and what, as the image of Isis, was hidden behind what they saw. And in their profound, allegorical, symbolical way of speaking, they had then asserted that this combining of the representative of the human being with Lucifer and Ahriman signified Isis. With the word signified, though, they not merely negated the artistic work that had brought it about, for an artistic work does not signify something, it is something. They also completely failed to recognize the underlying reality. For it was not the case that there was some abstract new Isis behind the figures. There actually was a real new Isis. The sculpted figures did not signify her. They were what they showed themselves to be. But they possessed the peculiar characteristic that behind them was the absolutely real being, the new Isis. A few people who at special moments had, however, seen this new Isis, found that she is asleep. So the real and deeper statue behind the invisible one is a sleeping figure, the sleeping new Isis, able to be seen, but seen only by very few. Some of these sometimes turned to the inscription, which is clearly written there, in the place where the statue is being worked on, but which has so far also only been read by a few. Yet there it is, the inscription, just as clear as the one long ago on the veiled statue at Sais. And this new inscription states, "I am the human being. I am the past, the present, and the future. Every mortal should lift my veil." It so happened that another figure once drew near, for the first time, to the sleeping new Isis, and then kept on coming back, again and again, to visit her. And the sleeping Isis looked on this visitor as her special benefactor, and loved him. And one day she started to believe in a particular illusion. The new Isis had a child, and she considered the visitor whom she saw as her benefactor to be the father. He too considered himself the father, But he was not. The spiritual visitor, who was in fact none other than the new Typhon, believed that by thus gaining power over the new Isis, he could radically increase his power in the world. And so the new Isis had a child, but she did not know who it was, nor anything about its true being. And she took it and dragged it off around the world, believing that she had to. She took away her new offspring, and when she had hauled it, dragged it through many different regions of the world, it fell to pieces. Through the power of the world itself, fell into 14 pieces. So the new Isis had carried her child out into the world, and the world had broken it up into 14 pieces. When the spirit visitor, the new Typhon, had learned about this, he gathered together the 14 pieces, and with all the knowledge of natural scientific profundity, from the 14 pieces had again made a single whole, a being. But this being had only a mechanical, a machine-like lawfulness. Thus a being had arisen which seemed to be living, but which only followed the laws of a machine. And because this being had arisen from 14 parts, it could reproduce itself 14-fold. And Typhon was then able to give to each of the parts a reflection of his own being, so that the faces of each of the 14 offspring of the new Isis resembled the new Typhon. And Isis had to follow all these strange events. Intuiting them, she beheld intuitively all the extraordinary changes her child had gone through. She knew that she herself had dragged it round the world, that she herself had brought all this to pass. But the day came when at last her child could be given back to her in its true form, handed to her by a group of spirits, elemental nature spirits. Yes, she received her child back from elemental spirits of nature. And as she received her true child back, who had only been stamped into the form of Typhon's offspring through an illusion, a remarkable clairvoyant vision rose up within her, and she suddenly noticed that she still bore on her head the cow horns she had had in ancient Egypt, despite having become a new Isis. And as she became clairvoyant in this way, the power of her clairvoyance summoned to her, some say Typhon, and some say Mercury, and by the power of the new Isis's clairvoyance, he was forced to set a crown on the very place where the old Isis had once worn the crown that Horus had ripped from her, on the exact place, that is, where she had formerly received the cow horns. This horn, though, was merely of paper, covered in writing of a profoundly scientific character, but nonetheless it was of paper. So she now had 2 crowns on her head, the cow horns and the paper crown, adorned with all the wisdom of scientific profundity. Then, one day, through the great power of her clairvoyance, there rose up within her the deepest meaning that could be reached in that epoch of what the Gospel of John describes as the Logos. There arose within her the whole Johannine significance of the mystery of Golgotha. And through this power, the strength of the cow horns took hold of the paper crown and transformed it into an actual golden crown of true wisdom.